Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
And we are minus Jared and minus Billy. Previous engagements, they are very busy cats. This is a big high time of year, especially for Jared, and Billy is touring, doing a little tour with his band.
And some well-deserved time.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show, and boy, do we have a very, very exciting show.
Who's on?
It's who are you, guest?
My name is Alain Johannes, or like my mom would like to hear me say is Alain Johannes, because she liked this actor named Alain Delon. So my name is Alain with an I, A-L-A-I-N, which no one can say.
I am such a fan of early Alain Delon.
There you go.
Le Cercle Rouge, are you kidding me? Le Samurai?
Nice.
Those are two of the greatest movies ever. Yes.
Handsome Devil, too. I don't know what that had nothing to do with me being named that, but whatever.
A little known fact, also one of my favorite records of all time, The Queen is Dead.
The Smiths.
By the Smiths.
Yes.
That's Alain Delon on the cover of that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, from the end of Le Cercle Rouge, when he's,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow.
Yes. More coincidences to pile onto your life.
Yeah.
As there are so many.
Starting now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't aware of our guest, we are going to help do that, but you're going to have to go in on a deeper dive. It's pretty extensive history. But Alan, would you mind telling people where people can find things that you're doing right now on the internet so they can go check you out?
Well, let's see. So Johannes, right? ALAIN, that's my handle for my Instagram, which is where I pretty much focus all my daily creative activities. I started like 10 years ago on it. And I remember when you could do 15-second video, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And it's like my little sketch pad. I actually wrote my second solo record based on little improvisations on Instagram. So that's that. And there's AlanJohannes.com, and there's Wikipedia. And I've been around for a while, and I've done some stuff. And some of it because just the nature of my personality, you might not know it was me inside it, but I've been very, very blessed to have had a long, long life in music, and been a part of a lot of cool stuff that you might not know I was a part of,
Yes, and we'll dig into that list later on in the show. But I think if you're not aware of Alan, you just don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some fantastic stuff to get through. One of the things, and Alan, I would love to hear you weigh in on this too. We get great, letters and emails and everything. Even real letters. Get some real letters.
That's right.
It's fun.
I love that.
The best ones are coming on $20 bills.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Have someone write a letter on a $20 bill?
No.
Oh, dude,
but it would be great.
Yeah.
We can only dream.
Like a little notes. Yeah.
So, Alan, we've got a really wonderful Patreon supporter group, and one of our supporters is Don Kloss, and he says, "Hey guys, thanks a heap for the T-shirt I recently received. We give away a lot of stuff to our listeners. It was nice. It was a nice surprise. I got it worn at our first band practice after I got it." He's getting to the question. Hang on. It's not all about a T-shirt. Okay. A question for any of you. And little did he know we'd be talking to you, Alan. With a Fender Blues Deluxe, to run a Fender GE 112 extension cabinet or not? I have one and am torn on the tonal benefit of using it. It supposedly brings out mid-range sound. I don't hear it so much, and I have a hard time getting a clean tone with any humbucker guitar. I'd love to jettison it if I get no sound benefit from using it. I prefer humbuckers and only play single coils if the other guys are both using humbuckers. Just trying to even out the sound. Thanks in advance for the input. Rock on, knobs. Don Kloss. So, Tony, can you kind of maybe decipher that for the folks out there that was a lot of back and forth?
So it sounds like he's got, I believe it's a 112 combo.
Yeah.
And he's questioning whether or not, or what the benefits might be to run a 112 extension cabinet in conjunction with the speaker that's already inside.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the amp itself, the combo, is an open back, and I'm guessing that the extension cabinet is a closed back.
Yeah. It's like the one that I had.
Oh, okay.
It's almost the exact setup.
Gotcha. So, in my opinion, especially in a live situation, I think having two speakers certainly increases your SPLs, sound pressure level. And, that always helps to, especially live. Now, if you're in a studio, it's not as critical. But I would definitely, if you have the ability to run the extension cabinet, the closed cabinet is going to be a little more MIDI.
Yeah.
But that in combination with an open back from the combo, I think would be a great combination.
Yeah. Alan?
Yeah. He's gonna watch the homage too, to make sure that he's good on that. Depending on
true.
the patterns.
I would also,
go ahead.
That's going to happen a few times tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Pass the lamb.
He's calling from Chile, so
I'm far down in Chile, and I'm in basically like a farm, and so the fact that we're even having this conversation is a miracle with the local internet. So I would actually put that cab. What's going to happen is that if he puts it on the other side of the stage, say, then it opens up it might not be as much volume in front of him, but it really does spread the sound out. And maybe what also would be, that's what I used to do with an extra cab, is running it on the other side. And also to be able to maybe, not push I forgot if it doesn't have a master volume, that amp, right? It's just a single volume.
Ooh. I believe it is a single volume. Yes, it is just a single volume, because
so it would appear louder, and he wouldn't have to push it as hard, and get spongier like on the preamp stuff. And you could even try, like, instead of a 12, like an 18 or a 410 or something with it, given that the 210. Given that the homages, or just forget that I've run my combos into like a 412 and just forget the original,
bypass the initial speaker,
and just use it like a head.
Yeah.
It sounds like what's happening. Maybe even try lowering the pickups a little bit, because maybe he's just pushing too much into it and it's getting a little bit muddy. Where with a Fender, sometimes I like to. Like in Crooked Vultures, I use a twin and I use the Bassman, and I just used a clean sound on those, and then got all the stuff from the pedals,
Yeah.
But I definitely found that if my more higher output humbuckers, I would just lower them a little tiny bit and stuff, and just playing it around. But it's definitely going to be a benefit. I think it's going to enjoy it, because it's a pretty nice amp.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan, you make a good point, because I think a lot of times people tend to have their pickups too high, and that really does affect the overall sound.
The magnetic bloom.
The bloom.
There you go. It's a bloom. But I'm sorry, you're too close. Back off, please. Back off.
But it's amazing if you play around a little bit and drop your pickups down, and whether it's humbuckers or single coils. If you have them too close to the strings, you can end up a little messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the attraction is, like, you think you're getting all the sustain, but at some point what's going to happen is that the magnetic field is going to impede the natural motion of the string vibration,
Yep, that is true.
You want to let that just do its thing,
Yeah.
And I find, like, just backing it down, just experiment. It's fun anyway. And plus you get to go, oh yeah, I have one of those tiny little Phillipses. I got it over here. You always feel like so powerful, like MacGyver or something.
Yeah, you brought up something that I have done on stage when I'm gigging, which is for a long time I was running like a combo, a single 12 combo, and then I would get I had a Supro Black Magic, and I got the matching extension cab for it. And
that's a nice amp.
Yeah, it is, and it sounds great, especially with the extension cab. I would put it on the other side, because if you're playing a smaller show, it doesn't matter what the house sound is doing. If you're close to the stage, you're going to hear whatever's in front of you. And I always thought, is like, man, it sucks if you're stuck in front of the bass player and you can't hear the guitar, or vice versa. If you're just stuck in front of the guitar, you may not be hearing some of the other tones. So that's something that I think is a huge advantage to having those extension cabinets. But be mindful. Don't fight. You need to fight the urge to just hook up a really long guitar cable.
To
your speaker.
Please.
Speaker cable, please.
Yes, you got to run speaker cables, folks. So
I mean, there's a reason that some of them are just shaped like they're also super fat. You're like, what is this? It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Or they're just like remember the old school, like there was obviously a speaker cable because it had the obvious division between the plus minus. But it's one of those things where like I often thought to myself, why can't I have just like a 8 millisecond delay, between this cabinet and that cabinet? But you obviously you can't, because it's like, how are you gonna, suddenly put a pedal? I tried it one time; it didn't work very well, actually. So with 2 amps you can delay one, so you can get this nice spread.
Yeah.
But with 2 cabinets, I thought, well, I'll just put a little Echoplex in between. I was like a kid, in the 70s. I'm like, I'll put an Echoplex in between, and it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
Did you have a fire extinguisher handy?
Yeah. But you bring up a really interesting point. Like you really could, with the right box coming out of your pedal board, you could run a duplicate amp on the other side of the stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what I tried one time? Remember those Pro Juniors?
Mm-hmm.
Fender Pro Junior, the Zinke that made the Supro before the, I have a Tremolo Electric.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Dave Grohl has it now because I took it over before I left. But he made this Pro Junior, which is like a volume and tone little tiny Fender. And one time I hooked up 3 together, like sending out to all 3, and my God, the sound of that, it was insane.
Wow.
Like having a bunch of tiny amps all wired to, all coming out. What is I think is Little Labs that makes it 1 in and 8 out or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a guy down in Indiana or over by us that oh, crumb. I can't remember what he calls it.
Yeah. He does it, and then it's got like phase. It's got like what's the thing where you can adjust the impedance or the pickups or whatever? Drag. It's got drag.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got phase, right? You're talking about like each one, so you can do all this multi-amp stuff. Yeah.
Well, and I think famously, there's a lot of people that do it. Joe Bonamassa runs 17 amps on stage.
Yeah.
Mick Mars, famous for just a whole bunch of crazy little amps.
Brian May.
Brian May.
Yeah.
Brian. I'll get a story about real quick. Brian May. I'm a kid. it's the 70s. I go see Queen at the Forum. I get taken to see Queen. I just demanded it to be so. and the PA goes out in the middle of the show, and the volume of the guitar did not change even a little tiny bit.
Really?
I was like, oh my God, he's running like 9
serious stage volume.
3 of them I'm sure were backups, but I know that at least 3 were together, and then the other 3 maybe for the Echoplex return. But my God, that tone live. I got to see Queen a few times, 4 times in the 70s and a couple times in the 80s, and it was pretty insane.
Yeah. You mentioned the Forum. I actually grew up in Long Beach area, and
oh wow,
so yeah, awesome. I think there's probably a few shows that we probably might have graced at the same time, way back then.
It was always easier to get to the Forum from Long Beach. I used to love to go to Long Beach too.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you, Don Kloss. That was a great question. I know everybody's always fidgeting around with what their little live setup is for especially playing for smaller gigs. Because we have to do it all ourselves. We don't have the magic man in the corner doing it all. Anyways, let's motor on to what is going on in our music world this week. We're going to ask Tony real quick, and then we'll check in with Alan, and then myself. Go ahead, Tony.
All right. So, Todd, this week in my music world, I've actually been going through some of my old parts drawers. And I think I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but I had some old Clues-on style tuners that were kind of rusty, kind of hard to turn. And there is a trick I learned years ago, and it's a product that's readily available. It's called Blaster. And Blaster is a penetrating oil. And what I typically do is...
how is that different from like WD-40?
WD-40 is a silicone-based product that removes moisture.
Okay.
So they work totally different. Penetrating oil actually works its way through the rust into
wet.
that. Yes. But I soak this sometimes for a couple of days, sometimes overnight. And generally speaking, I spray it into a small plastic container and dip the, I usually leave the plastic bits of the tuning machines out, but all of the metal guts. And it is just it's an amazing product. It's like $6 or $7 at any hardware store. And after you take that out, I'll sometimes blow them out. And with Cluzons, there's always that little tiny hole. And it's an oiling hole. And I'll put a drop or two of 3-in-1 oil in them.
Wow,
and
I didn't know that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever look on the back of the Cluzon casing, there's just a little teeny tiny hole.
Yeah.
And you just drop a drop or two of 3-in-1 in that and spin it around a little bit. And most of the time, I've had very good luck with it. They work as good as new. So that was my little. In addition to chopping up plastic, I'm soaking metal parts in.
That is
in
very
Blaster.
exciting. That is very exciting.
Yeah, well, I live the big life.
Indeed.
No, but that's awesome because I have a bunch of stuff that's from past, upgrades, supposed upgrades, and tuners, bridges, whatever, and it all goes into this box. And I just when I put my stuff in storage before I came over. I saw it there, and I knew I had like my old pickups. When I put my Jazz Master that I've played all these years has early Duncan 59s in it, but originally it had 62 Jazz Master pickups in it. Somewhere in these boxes is that. So all that stuff is there. It's good to know about.
Yeah, but any bits and pieces like that, like bridge parts, like a Tune-O-Matic bridge or something like that. Anything that has screws. Soak it. It penetrates in through the rust, and then if you put a drop of 3-in-1 oil on it, they generally work pretty well.
I guess the penetrator would have not been quite the brand name to go with it.
Probably not.
Right. Yeah.
Too many other connotations.
Yeah. Alan, how about yourself? I know you have had a big week, but what are some small things that you're dealing with?
Let's see. Basically, I brought a mini version of my stuff over down to Chile, and I'm at my friend's place. What's called a parcela, which is like basically a terrain and like a piece of land that's got a couple of houses on it. That he put together, and it's funny when I'm so used to I've been collecting stuff since I was a kid, right? Mm-hmm. So I literally put like 300 instruments in storage, and I'm not talking guitars only. I have Indian classical instruments. I have horns. I have cellos. I have, whatever, all the crazy stuff that I've been collecting. And so I'm sitting here with just a bit of the stuff. I've got my Shabbat guitars, which is amazing. I love it to death. I've got that. I've got my cigar box guitar. I've got a little Apollo interface. I've got a Helix Stomp XL and a couple of things. And I've been trying to just tell myself that it's plenty to make music because I'm so used to being able to have access to all the different textures in my mind, Mm-hmm. But I found myself this week. I posted quite a few little loopy things on my Instagram and a couple of jams. And it's interesting what happens when you're in a totally different environment. Since I'm away from the LA thing, it's like I'm literally sitting here, like walking around and like grabbing eggs from the chicken coop and. Picking berries and grapes because you guys know Chilean wine is really amazing, right? So
it is good, yes.
Yeah, so the Concha y Toro, it's a very famous brand, Casillo del Diablo, all that stuff. Literally, that's my neighbor next door to the vineyard over here.
Oh, no kidding.
It's so it's pretty cool. So obviously, I'm going to be sampling some of that.
Well, that would just be polite.
That would just be polite. I mean, I've purchased all of it. I'm not going to knock on their door and go, hey, what's going on today?
Yeah.
I
I guess that wine there in Chile, and I don't know that I've. Well, I guess maybe I'm thinking of the what is it? Ganache? Not ganache. That's chocolate. What's the
Grenache? It's a wine. I mean,
Okay.
So if you guys got Trader Joe's, Trader Joe's was one of the first places where you could buy wine for like $8.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was from Chile. Gato Negro, Castillo del Diablo, Concha y Toro. I remember when we had parties, like, oh my God, this amazing wine that is so good that it tastes like $60, $70 wine, but it's only $7, $8, $9. That was the Chilean stuff that first appeared.
Yeah.
That we got used to. Yeah.
Well, because speaking of West Coast, I mean, Chile is West Coast, and it has the mountains, and it also has the coastal, the salt water coming off, which
it's called High Chaparral. Is geologically, I think, Portugal, Spain, France, California, Chile.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, like you, I can send you guys photos. You're like, oh, where is that? And that's just past Malibu, right? It's on the way to. It's crazy,
Yeah.
And I have friends in the south of France and friends in Portugal that they see photos or they send me photos. I'm like, oh my God, it's like almost interchangeable. There's a few obvious features that are different, but it's just something about the ground and what it can produce. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, anyways, on the wine podcast, we're going to continue.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Great. It's great. We love talking about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we've been known to go off tangent.
Oh yeah, big time.
Anyway, I've been soaking myself in wine, and that makes the sound of my guitar do certain things that don't.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. In my music world this week.
How about you, Todd?
Well, thank you, Tony. I was waiting for that. I had very exciting thing. Sometimes when you're scrolling around late night, you're like, you look at your watch and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been watching The Sopranos for it's 2:30. What if my Hagstrom Vikings? What if something happens to that? I should probably look for a new one. So I started looking because, that's what you do at 2:30 in the morning. I started checking out, what the internet had to do. And then as I was scrolling, I saw this really beautiful gold top Les Paul. And I was like, man, gold tops are so nice. I kept scrolling. Now, my Hagstrom Viking, which most of our listeners know by now, it's black. And it has a gold sparkle pickguard. And Alain, not all, but almost all of my guitars are black with gold sparkle pickguards. That's like...
Is that a 60s one? Because I have a 12 that I use since, what is this, way in the 80s.
Yeah, no, this is one of the later ones, a reissue, yeah.
Okay.
And lo and behold, I stopped scrolling like the brakes, the Fred Flintstone feet brakes. And I was like, what was that? Oh, yeah. And I scroll back, and it's a gold Hagstrom Viking. And I said, oh, Lord. Mm-hmm. And the price was stupid. So I said, well...
Stupid high or low?
Oh, stupid low. Okay. Stupid low to where I couldn't type fast enough to try to buy it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so anyways, it arrived. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it has the upgraded fretboard on it. And it also has a roller bridge, which is odd, but it's got a stop tail. Now, you will know, Alain, like the harp tail on the back is like kind of like the Hagstrom thing. This has a stop tail. And so this is a really unique one, and I hadn't ever seen one before. And I've been looking at Hagstrom Viking, which is, for those who don't know, is a semi-hollow body, kind of like a 335 stuff. Only a little cooler, I think.
It is cooler.
Anyways, I got it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, what have I done? I still feel guilty if I buy myself stuff. And I said, why did I do this? Why did I do this? I need to just return this. I don't need this. What did I do? And it's
I've never returned anything ever.
I have maybe a little, I don't know if it's guilt or willpower, but maybe a little bit of both. But it was sitting up against my amp, and then I said, well, no, I'm just going to return it. I'll get my money back. This was foolish of me. Why did I do this? But I should play it once, at least. So I picked it up, and I played it. And I kid you not, about 30 seconds after I played it, I got a song out of it. And I said, oh, crap, now I have to keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then for the next 3 days, I have just submitted 6 new songs to my band because it's just I pick it up and one comes out. I don't even know what's going on with this thing. So it's very exciting, and it plays. It plays so beautifully. I love it. So that's
amazing.
Yeah,
Isn't that inspiring? Of course. Dude, but if you got a song out of it, that's already a special instrument.
Exactly.
It's paid for itself.
It's funny. Exactly. It's funny about instruments is like certain instruments make you play a certain way. They put you in a certain mood. There's some are songwriting machines, some are not. It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, and that's why we have so many of them.
It's true. It's true. And you know, our sets are, I guess they go kind of fastish. We play a little bit more, slightly more aggressive, not hard music, but I think if you, I don't know, you probably put there's a little bit of Queens in there, Queen's Stone Age. There's some early 70s, you know, kind of punky stuff, and it's a lot of X. I love X. Billy Zoom's like, you know, Guitar God, The Cult, Billy Duffy.
I can show you photos of my mom and Billy Zoom side by side. It's the same person. I'm not kidding. I'm going to send you a photo. I mean, we used to joke about it. My mom is a beautiful blonde, but like, you know, and you know, Billy Zoom's a beautiful blonde.
Hey,
so
yeah.
There was one period where she was like slicking her hair back, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Mom!" You know, you know, what is this? We actually played with Whitney Houston and X in Disney World.
Oh my goodness,
'85.
That's wild.
It was very strange. We got to play. I think it was Tomorrowland, and everybody played in different places. And it was '85. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, but obviously, you know, growing up in LA, I would go see X all the time. You know, so it was amazing. Yeah.
I'm very excited. Speaking of X, because I think I mentioned this to a few people, and anytime I start talking about X, whatever, I have a place in my heart for them. But I'm going out to NAMM in a couple weeks, which you're obviously very familiar with. And when I said, well, I'm going to see what's going on while I'm there. I'm going to be visiting old friends in my old neighborhood and everything. And I said, but I would really love to, you know, see if there's any shows. There's nothing happening, at least from a sense of bands that I would be familiar enough to say, okay, I got to stop everything I'm doing to go see. Until I found X playing at this tiny little theater, and I was like, oh my gosh, the tickets are $35.
Where in Anaheim? Where are they playing?
In LA at the Tremonor, not the Troubadour. It's a Tremulum, something. I'm going to get the name wrong, but anyways, it's small. It's really small, and
wow, that's crazy.
That's where they kill, in the small theaters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I saw them with the whiskey so many times, and even remember Club Lingerie? That was a long time ago. Yeah.
So very excited about that. But you mentioned some guitars are writing guitars. Some guitars maybe don't necessarily give you songs, but I would show up with a couple of guitars for, you know, a small. It's not. I'm not playing for hours or anything, and I would get a little bit of grief, like, oh, you need all the guitars for them, like, because these 2 songs were written on that one, and these 2 songs were written on that one, and these were. It's like I kind of want to honor that, you know. Anyways,
personally, I think it's the pick guard that I made for you. Really, that's where all the songs came from.
Yeah, true.
Pick guard. Oh yes. Well, I mean, you know, whatever the inspiration is, you know, what I found throughout the years is it's so funny because an instrument can have magic in it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. I have amazing instruments made in Japan or Mexico or you know. China. Even I recently had a SG and a that Jeff Becky Les Paul with the like in the back of Wired, that photo of that kind of Les Paul. Just recently, like last year, that just happened to be amazing instruments. It's crazy, so inexpensive, and really beautifully made. You never know what you're gonna get from.
I did find the name of the place in case anybody wants to go. And if you go to this show, please find me. Okay, get a hold of me. Let's meet up. It's at the Terragram Ballroom.
There you go. I know that place.
Yep. And it's no seats. It's small, and it's going to be fantastic. Anyways, Tony.
Yes, Todd.
I bet that a international superstar such as Alain.
Yes.
Let's just use him for example.
Okay.
Probably goes through a lot of equipment and needs a lot of different equipment scenarios.
Probably have to plug things
Probably
into each other and
a lot of that.
Yeah.
What would we recommend? Since we know so well exactly what's
I
needed
believe
for
we
that
are
thing.
the experts.
We are the experts.
I would highly recommend using Tour Gear Design's patch cables.
Why would that be great for him?
Well, because they come in multiple different sizes. They're very flat. Very flat.
Yes.
And the little pluggy thing that goes in,
Very low profile.
very tiny. So it's kind of like
Not like a giant pancake one.
well, yeah. I mean, essentially, it's a very
the diameter of a jack almost.
yes.
Yeah.
It is.
It's incredible.
And they're
None
not-
more thin.
None more thin. Exactly. And they, I think they're
3 inches to 24 inches, and all the lengths in between.
Yes.
S shape and C shape.
Yes.
So you can go from a side mount to a top mount very easily without twisting the cable, which can end up breaking the cable if you keep doing that.
Yes. You don't want to do that.
I bet if Alan went right now and ordered a whole bunch of them, because they're in Canada, so they ship them all over the place.
Yep.
If he puts a
In
bunch of
Canada
them,
and Chile, it starts with C, so there shouldn't be a problem.
they'll get it
it's
right.
one and the same.
And Alan, guess what? You're going to save 10%.
Why?
Because Alan, aka Tony, if you put in the guitar knobs into the coupon code, you're gonna get 10% off your order.
Oh my God, dude!
They're fantastic.
No, they really are good. We all use them. We all love them. They're very affordable right out the gate.
Super
And then you
affordable.
can save an extra 10%. You're gonna love them.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you to Tour Gear Designs for sponsoring our 4 on the Floor.
Yeah.
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. All right, Alan Johannes of More Things Than We Can List.
Yes, of a bunch of stuff.
What is your
I
4 on
am
the
a bunch of
floor?
bands. Omnipresent. Let's see. I would say that my first of the pedal from the 4 on the floor would have to be the DoD Octoplus that I got in the 90s. There's a song by Eleven called "Reach Out" in which the riff goes down, man, on world, and basically, it's got an octave down, on that riff. And what I love about the Octoplus is that if you palm your guitar, the on single note riffs, the octave pops out in a very musical way. And then if you play a full chord, it goes, I can't even handle that, and it just doesn't even activate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could do full chords, especially weird inversions where the thirds on the bottom or whatever. And literally it's got this particular sound that I love so much. And a couple of times I've just turned the direct off and I've gotten this kind of Stevie Wonder-y, Paul McCartney kind of, that's one of them that I love. And I still have 2. I have one here with me in Chile and one in my bodega. And actually DoD Digitech is going to send me, they have a newer one that does the 2 octave thing,
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
but
and they're kicking back into gear now again.
Yeah, which I love. And the other one, also by Digitech, would be the Freakout, which I've been using a lot recently because I've learned to, you got the third setting from the clockwise, which is kind of like the same, the octave up from whatever you're playing, and it activates this not just the feedback mode, like, wee, but it activates this second voice that follows you, especially in some of my improvs, like on my mandola or whatever, like, and you got this on the top following me. A little bit later, a little bit, it tracks some notes. Sometimes it doesn't. It all depends. And it sounds like you've got this little beautiful ghost buddy, melodic buddy that's kind of hanging with you, and is jamming along with you. And I love that effect. I love that feeling of the Digitech freak out.
And that does both an octave up and an octave down, right?
Well, actually, it goes through the harmonic series.
Oh,
so from the bottom, so it goes do 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 do.
Okay.
So the bottom is an octave down. Then you've got unison. Then you've got the kind of octave up, and then it does like a harmony, a harmonic thing. And you've got the ability to latch, or you got the ability to blend it as to trigger as fast as possible.
Okay.
So it does sound like there's quite a few posts that I've used. It's not predictable. You have to kind of lay into it, and it does its own thing. It's kind of like the ghost in the machine. It's alive in a crazy way, and I love that. I don't know what I'm going to get all the time, but it's always musical. It always gives musical results.
That sounds very much like at least a partial description of what you tend to bring to the music world in its unpredictability and
thank you.
Okay, let's number 3, please.
Okay, number 3 would be I have one of the earliest prescription electronics experience pedals, like number 4, I think it is.
Wow.
And it's a big square guy that I got in '94, and I used it on Seasick of You and a few other things. One of my favorite fuzzes ever. It's really with the octave up thing, and if you listen to Seasick of You on the 3011 record, you can hear it does this crazy thing that you can, when you do the little edge of the pick finger high harmonic. It just behaves really in a really rude way. It's very a kind of almost animalistic, and I love sounds. I love pedals and that kind of almost make it so that you have no idea. They give you the sense of danger and the sense of like. I mean, I grew up with a lot of Fred Frith. You guys know Fred Frith. He was in Henry Cow, and he's an experimental avant-garde kind of, and his usage of effects and sounds, it's really intensely interesting to me, and pedals that do that always go up on the top of the list for me. So
you thrive on chaos a little bit.
yeah, a little bit of chaos, but the kind of chaos where it's like you have to trust, and you go in, and you don't try to control it. You kind of play around with what it gives you and react to it. So
yeah,
just like this, I love improvising, where I just start, and then whatever happens goes into the next moment. I have no real plan. I just kind of react to as if I was being what's it called? Sent. It's not a transmission. I'm receiving it. And I'm kind of just, it's going through me, and then I'm almost listening to myself as opposed to guiding it. You know what I mean? And you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you're in the zone, you're like, oh my God, I just did what?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, but I like it.
I like it a lot. And then the cool thing is, it's also, you don't go like, oh, I hope I can repeat that again. Then you move on to the next thing. It's cool.
Yeah. Dig it. Number 4.
Yeah. Number 4 would be, Dr. No made this pedal for me called the 1111, and it's really, really special. He made a limited edition. It's got Natasha and I's. So it's got Russian and Chilean coins as the top of the little knobs, right? Based on our years of birth, and then it's got actual bird skulls covered in metal, and as a selector. So it's basically like a Q, almost like a Q zone or a wah in an extreme way. So it goes go go gee, all the way to the really coupled with a fuzz, coupled with a boost. but it's the fact that he made this beautiful piece of art. And he made 11 times 11 of them, and that's it. There's ever going to be, and that pedal is really special to me because I use it quite a bit. It allows to get a little bit of the Queen's tones with a super heavily boosted low mids,
Right.
but also the Brian May treble boosted tones when you get up into the higher register
Yeah.
of the frequencies, which I love, because I grew up on Brian May, Jeff Beck, and so that's number 4.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of playing that at a friend's house, and I mean, yes, it sounds great, but obviously Dr. No makes pedals that you're like, wow, I mean, it's just a piece of art. And
Exactly.
Visually and sonically.
yeah. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that this was the genesis for the pedal that followed, that was the Troy Van Leeuwen pedal.
Yeah, beautiful pedal.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God. So,
Yeah. Well, those are 4 fantastic pedals, and I think that they actually speak a lot. It's always interesting to see what our guests are going to choose, especially if they are either known players or they're known for building certain things. Your type of music I'm sure has been described to you in a billion different ways, and the fact that it either can be or can't be described even is something that is, I think, unique in the purest form of the word unique. In the sense, we call a lot of things unique that aren't, but then there are things that genuinely are. And I think that your musical stylings, not just the music you play, but the things that we're going to get into here in a moment, kind of that's what I think of.
Thank you.
Now, before we deep dive into that, and then we're gonna stay mostly, I think, in the gear realm. We want to get people, as much information that we're going to discuss about you and everything. But you had a very big weekend.
Yeah. So I came. Just a quick backstory about me in Chile. So I was born here, but I was taken away when I was really small, and I didn't come back until 2010, 40 some years later, to meet my real father. It was Josh that said, after Natasha passed away, he's like, you got to go and reconnect with your past. So I came back in 2010, and then I came back with Chris Cornell and with Queens, and then I met these guys. They're amazing musicians, Chileans, and I basically started a band with them, and we play all the stuff from my past and my 11, and then stuff like Euphoria Morning, things that I've been a part of, writing, performing, Queen stuff that I wrote, and then solo stuff. And so we've been having this, by now it's 10 years worth of this amazing thing. And so we just played Lollapalooza, and right before the pandemic started, we were supposed to do Euphoria Morning in its entirety, Chris Cornell's first solo record, with some invited guests, and so we just added 2 amazing members, Edo, a amazing singer and guitar player, and Eduardo playing, a string bass, because in 11 Natasha played Moog bass, and it was a 3-piece with organ, Moog bass, drums, Jack Irons, and me. And so we just played Lollapalooza on Sunday, and so I hadn't actually played electric live in about 4 years. I did a couple of acoustic shows in the last few years, so it was really, really cool to get back into that whole world, And so we had a beautiful show, and I'm going to be here playing some more of that. But that's what happened this weekend, so it was pretty special.
A big crowd, I imagine.
Yeah, it was a good crowd. We were like right after, right around the time of Jane, so people were kind of shuffling in as we started, with Lola. But it was really nice because, we had people in the audience about stuff, about hearing songs from Euphoria Morning, and it feels really good that there's people that know and appreciate the music of 11, because we never really had a chance to get the exposure that we got was solely based on our friends like Soundgarden,
Yeah.
Pearl Jam, and Queens. That took us out on tour because the labels were never really know what to do. To make of it. So it's nice to be able to go out there and still play this music. So I want to remember who Natasha was and the legacy of all the stuff that we did, which for me is amazing because it not only is it connected to the past, but I'm excited about because we did a single a few years ago, not that long ago, with the trio with Mike Patton and I singing together. That is in Spanish. I never sung in Spanish before, and so it has this modern, updated version of it. We can make new music that's not just harkening back to before. But I love it that I can play 11 songs again and my solo stuff with them. They're amazingly talented. Cote Fonseca on drums and vocals and Philip Fonseca. So that's what I did this weekend. Yeah.
Is that the band that you're going to be touring extensively with?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be doing. I have to build it up a little bit more in Europe. I'm going to do a solo tour in Europe in the fall, and there it's going to be me solo plus some really amazing Dutch band called Iron Gin, and they're going to be joining me for some stuff. I just need to build it up a little bit more because obviously, taking 10 people on tour to Europe is a bit of a
Yeah.
So and because I'm like a musician's musician very often that I need to work my ass off the rest of the year to be able to figure out a way to make that work.
Right.
Especially because I had this entire European solo tour booked for the 2020 when the pandemic hit, and I swear to God, it's like half of those places are gone. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing these really cool little theaters and little clubs for 200 to 500 people, and it was so shocking to know that it didn't survive.
Yeah.
And yeah, but we soldier on.
Yeah. Well, and you do it in so many ways. And I think this is a good time to give a little bit of, for lack of better terms, giving us the Wikipedia version so that people that aren't as familiar can get a better understanding as we progress. You are listed as a guitarist, as a producer, as a songwriter, an engineer, and I would probably throw in there storyteller.
Right.
Anything else you would like to add to that list?
Actually, I just mastered a couple of things while I was down here, and listen, it's anything and everything to do with music.
Mm-hmm.
I was really young when I started. I was like, 4 years old. My uncle was a pretty big. My dad and my uncle were both pretty big, kind of early rockers. Pretty famous here in
Right.
Chile. And he put a guitar in my hand, showed me a few chords. And then just set me on a path. But he was really inspiring to me because he was a multi-instrumentalist, and he would always show up at my mom's place, and ask if he could rehearse his band. And so there'd be all these instruments around and 4-track recorders and microphones and Fender Rhodes and horns and drums and they would leave it there. So I'm this kid. I've got access to all this stuff. I'm so lucky, So I learned to record. I learned to engineer. And learned to mix really early on, which has been really was a really wonderful idea because it's allowed me to continue being a part of things and be involved creatively from the production standpoint. To be able to be I can. So when I produce stuff, I have this experience of being the artist or the band that's being engineered or recorded or produced. So I have this kind of sensitivity to and empathy for the process. So I end up, being a good part of the team because I don't, I just want to make it work from the point of music of the point of the initial thing is making the songs work,
Right.
making the music work. And I don't try to put a stamp on anything, and I try to always invent things, and it's fun. If I come up with some cool, interesting ideas, I'm not going to try that again. Let's see what else we can come up with, some new miking things or whatever.
Right.
And it just feels great. So I've been very lucky, and I've been a part of maybe 100+ records. Lanigan produced his last 5 or 6. inside Queens of the Stone Age, producing cool stuff everywhere, engineering, no doubt, Arctic Monkeys. It's great, and it's been a really fun ride, and it's continuing, which is great.
Well, to me, that was one of the interesting things about getting you on the show is that, yes, you're a guitar player, but I think anybody who's made any kind of a recording, there's that whole other aspect of it that is kind of a fascinating thing. At least I think it's fascinating. And in my day-to-day life and my job, I'm a working stiff. I'm a creative director, and so my job is essentially a producer for an advertising agency. And it's interesting to see how that I can see how that works, and I naturally gravitate towards that. And when we're recording our own stuff, but hearing from you, as a musician, but then also being a prolific producer and influencer on frankly some of my favorite records. So and a lot of our fan base too. You've certainly touched quite a few ears. And I thought that was a really interesting angle, so it's not just like, hey, cool, you play guitar for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Very well. When I was trying to tell a couple other people about this, that we're going to have you on, the first two people that kind of came to my mind as in a way to help describe this was sort of like a modern day Todd Rundgren or Brian Eno, or even a Mutt Lange or somebody, like where you have these people who are prolific musicians on their own, but have done so much to help bring interesting things out of the people that they're working with. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about your transition from guitar into, and how you sort of glide across all these different roles that you play in music?
I mean, okay, so I would say, like I said before, the exposure to access to recording devices and kind of seeing the entire thing as a continuum, as opposed to like a separated thing. It's a creative act. It's a every aspect of it is part of a process, and it's all connected, and that all is important to stay focused on for the success of the thing itself. Because I remember like early days when we were just kids, like Flea, Hillel, Jack, and I, before the Peppers, we went into studios that we'd saved our money all summer for to record our stuff, and it didn't come out the way that we sounded in the rehearsal room. I'm like, what happened here? There was all this pressure. We spent all this money that we had saved. I mean, all this money, $1,000 when you're in high school that you'd save for it.
It's
a pretty big deal.
Especially back then.
And yeah, exactly, in the late 70s. And you're like, what happened, And I'd be trying to like figure out, like, psychologically, I'd noticed what happened psychologically. I noticed all this other stuff. And I'm like, but when we're in the rehearsal room, we're so happy.
Yeah.
And like I thought, it's a pressure thing. Okay, so obviously it's a pressure thing. So what are the dynamics of self pressure and what happens at that point? And a little bit of tension is a good thing, to kind of put a fire under you. But it was interesting because I already started noticing, because the main thing for me was to make it a timeless recording, something that I could listen to with proudly and share with others and be like, hey, check this out, Mm-hmm. And I think what happened is that after I met Natasha, we focused so intensely on songwriting, and we didn't have a lot of money but we always tried to get some nice gear going, save money for it, and we kept that kind of independent spirit. And this is like, now we're into the 80s, and so we had a 2-inch 16 Stevens machine that we spent like $3,000 on, like everything that we saved for. And we had that and a couple mics and a pre's, then we got a soundtrack to do. And then we got, instead of with the money that they paid us, we bought a console so we could actually do the soundtrack, and just kept building like that, And then really the big turning point in terms of having access to a full studio and being able to afford to record any time was when 11 used to open up for Soundgarden all the time. We were amazing friends. And Chris stayed with us before Euphoria Morning after Soundgarden stopped for, whatever, 20 some years.
Yeah.
And he invited Alcafaro, the president of A&M. We didn't have a label. We'd left Hollywood. And he invited him with the purpose of like playing him our stuff so that maybe you get us a record deal. And so Alcafaro's like, I love your stuff. I want to sign you. I'm going to give you $200,000 for a record deal. And so Natasha and I were so brazen. We were like, okay, cool. But can we get that $200,000 as a PO to like West LA Music so we can just buy a studio and do the thing ourselves? And he like looked at us like we were nuts. And he was like, I love it. It's crazy. You guys are nuts. I love it. I'm going to let's do this.
Oh, my
and like
God.
a week later, I'm at West LA Music with $200,000 and a potential thing, and I'm like buying this and buying that. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's that Brent Averill Neve. Okay, APIs, cool. All right. I didn't realize cabling for the studio was going to be $40,000. That almost killed me. I was like, what? It's just cable. And the big mistake was with all due respect to Yamaha, it was an O2R. We didn't really need to have a little digital console. We ended up using it as a monitoring thing. Anyway, because of Chris and Alcafaro, we had a studio, 11 AD. And so we did Avant-Garde Dog, which is the second to last 11 record. And then Chris came over for Euphoria Morning to like kind of work out the stuff because Daniel Lanois was going to produce it. And so Natasha and I wrote like Pillow and Disappearing and Mission and a couple of things. And then she helped arrange stuff. And so we prepared demos ready to go. And then the people, Daniel Lanois people like called and said, he's canceling all his projects. I'm sorry. And Chris is like, what are we going to do? And Natasha's like, we're going to make the record, we're going to make the record right now. And so we ended up making the record Euphoria Morning at the house, And that experience of being able to have a studio at your place that we ended up doing all the Lanigan stuff and 11 stuff and whatever was just an amazing gift to be able to have a daily access to, an amazing recording studio in your house where you didn't have to feel the pressure. And I think I learned so much from that. I learned so much from being around geniuses like Natasha and Chris and Lanigan and Josh too. Josh was, when we met, when 11 opened up for Queens, and we ended up doing Desert Sessions and then being part of Songs for the Deaf. And then I joined for Lullabies and Natasha too. It's just the luck to be able to find this extended family of amazing artists that trusted each other, and I got to, be in there as part of the team, and just focus on like, let's together make this amazing thing,
Right.
And so I really learned how to they're always my natural contextual family, relationship oriented person. I don't know. When I did my first solo record, it was because I heard so much that Natasha wasn't here anymore that I had to make a solo record so I could basically communicate this through songs. It wasn't natural for me to go off and just be alone.
Yeah.
Because I love being part of something, and remembering those bedroom jams with Jack Irons and Hello Slovak since we were 14 years old, which led to all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned something being.
Sorry, I can just keep going. Yeah, I can keep going.
Yeah, no. Hey, this is what it's for. This is you have. I mean, we'll give you the floor anytime you want it. I think one of the things, and we'll touch on this in just a second, but one of the things that struck me when I was watching the documentary, which we will, again, as I mentioned, talk to you in just a second, is that the people that were speaking about their interaction with you did so in a way that they speak of a family member or a lifelong companion. And I thought that early setup in that documentary really set the tone for to tell the story in a way that was more meaningful. So that is clear coming out of other people referencing some of your past musical work and your relations.
Gift. It's incredible to me that I still pinch myself even after all the loss and the hurt. It's like I still know, I know for sure that of the blessing, incredible blessing it is.
Yeah, for sure. I just brought up the documentary. That's something you shared with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you please give yourself, just carve out some time and take a minute and watch this documentary called Unfinished Plan, which basically, I mean, it really is a biopic on you in your entire career. And could you maybe just share a little bit about how and why that came about, and also where we can find that?
I mean, it's funny because so you imagine that my real father I didn't meet until 2010, right? So it was kind of a big secret. I wasn't supposed to know. And then my grandmother spilled the beans when I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there was this rocker in Chile that was my dad, And I think he sent me a letter, and I just didn't really know how to respond. I had kind of like not that it was intense like weirdness about it. I just didn't feel like it was the right time. Anyway, so then after Natasha passed away, Josh said, told me, he goes, I'm going to take you back to Chile. You haven't been in 40 some years, and you figure out a way to meet your dad when you're there, because I think that's going to help you heal from this. It will connect to your roots. And, Josh is like he's like a brother. So he was looking out,
Yeah. And for those who don't, we're referencing Josh Homme, not,
Josh Homme, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Homme from Queens. And so he took me down there, and I ended up meeting my father, and consequently 2 brothers and cousins and aunts and this entire family that I'd known about me. And it felt so natural, and my dad he was like the first guy who was like, I'm not going to cover these rock songs. I'm just going to write my own rock songs in Spanish. He was that kind of guy, So I got to hang out with him for a few years before he passed. But also this guy showed up named Fito Garate, and he was, there's a guy named Jorge Lira, who was like one of the main dudes at the rock station, the local rock station. And he basically sent him to meet me. I'm not sure he knew that much about me yet, But in the beginning, it was this angle about this Chilean that got away, that went into the world, and that went and did stuff, and how proud, it made everyone that was, and he was coming back to reconnect with his childhood and the place where he was born. And so he started to do some research and finally figure out like what the past was. And then he started to film interviews every time that my buddies like, Soundgarden or Lanigan or Monkeys or Josh Queens would come down. I would arrange for him to meet them and record an interview. Then he came out to LA and checked out some of the old haunting spots that we, like Fairfax High and where I grew up. Then they followed me to Europe, and so little by little, this entire documentary was being formed. Now, for me, it was pretty bizarre to like I didn't feel like, why are they doing this? Like, this is just strange. But my Uncle Peter was in it, and my buddies were in it, and I was just, trying to be, helpful to this process, but I thought it was kind of bizarre to suddenly have a, movie and they're following you around and asking you stuff. Mm-hmm. And then my sister got interviewed, and she's like, well, I'm going to call this a love story. It's about Alain and Natasha. And that kind of triggered this in the director. It made him realize, wait a minute, this angle on this is wrong. It's not about a Chilean musician that went out there and is hanging out with famous rock stars. It's about this love story,
Yeah.
And I now noticed the shifts. And suddenly, like I actually could only watch a little bit of it. And when it premiered down here, Chris had just passed away, 2 weeks earlier, and I was down here, and I sat in darkness in the back of the theater and got to see the thing for the first time. You know, and it was really, really intense. You know, because Uncle Peter had passed away from ALS, and Chris, and obviously Tasha, and at the same time, it was just like I just felt like this is they're still here with me.
Right.
I've been charged to try to continue this, as long as I can, and so I gather strength from that. And like when I perform songs from Spark, it literally like it's so weird because I have to go back to the place where those songs come from, So not that I get sad or anything. It's just that it's not just casually playing a song, and
Right.
I can't just casually perform it. And and at the same time, like Lanigan, was in that kind of connection to me. We did all this stuff together.
What a voice.
And
oh man.
yeah, what a voice. And him and, with Chris and Natasha is like the three people in my life and Josh is the fourth, and
Yeah.
Josh is going to be fine. He'll live a long, like, God bless him.
Yeah.
It's just that, to have this connection with people in that way where you trust each other so completely, and you weather whatever difficult processes of creation are. Someone has your back so unconditionally, it's just an incredible feeling. And the fact that I got to, I get to carry that with me, and I have that. So, that's one of the aspects of the last year that's been extra hard is like with Lanigan passing too, is just it just brings everything back to, and it piles up,
Right.
So me being back here in Chile is really it's really healthy because I get to just be in front of people that love what we did. I get to play songs that I was a part of. We played some Euphoria Morning the other day. We played some Sound City. We played some Queens of the Stone Age, and it's great and it feels good because I'm still here and I'm doing stuff, so it's cool.
Yeah.
It's good.
Sort of random, but one of the things that every once in a while, I'm sure you experience this. You'll just be walking down the street, and then like some line from some song that you heard that repeatedly comes into your brain.
Yeah.
And one of those things is, so there's, for whatever reason, they come in two. Okay, for me.
Right.
So number one, in no particular order, but there was a band. I think they're from Belarus I think Belarus. They were called Belfagor, and they had a song called "All That I Wanted" with a fantastic video. They were on a beach, and this camera kept going. It was like they went back and forth with this camera, like they were running at the camera. So it was like it was in a loop. But they had a great line. And that was all that I wanted. And so I hear that in my head, followed immediately or preceding, "Mind My Have Still I." And I remember hearing that the first time and going, what does that mean? and I was like, what is he saying? I was like, oh, he's saying I still have my mind, but it's backwards. Oh my God, I love this. So I had to pass that on. Thank you for putting a screw in my brain that'll never go away.
That's so funny. Well, do you ever see the video for that, the original video?
Yes.
Okay, well that is a Hackstrom Viking, the 12-string version. As you can look, but when you look at it again, it's a tobacco sumpter. And look at the tailpiece.
I would have seen that on Video One with Richard Blade, I believe.
Oh my God, I remember that. And Natasha, the interview with him was so fun. I have so many videos in storage of VHS videos of like, there was this one video that we did before we got signed with Flea, when Flea was in the band, and he plays a trumpet solo. He's wearing a dress, It's called Off the Floor. And I was working at a TV show called You Asked for It, Jack Smith's You Asked for It. And because of that, I met a couple of the dudes that worked in, because I spoke different languages, I could answer I could look at all the mail from all over the world and create like a synopsis for the writers to like, because, the basic idea was like, they're not going out to film what you asked for. They got stock footage and they're going to show you what, as if they went out and filmed it. Anyway, long story.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to digitize that because it's going to be really fun for everyone to see this.
You obviously remember Richard Blade.
Yes.
I got to share this because I think, people like ourselves who grew up on radio, when that kind of, it kind of went away. Everybody went to CDs and MP3s and everything. I moved from, when he left, by the way, everyone listening is just like, who's Richard Blade? Richard Blade was like the premier DJ on the West Coast at K-Rock. And for those of us who grew up during that time, it was like he was the voice in our head. He was the person who was saying like, hey, check this song out, And after he left, I moved from the West Coast out to the Midwest. And I remember, this would have been, 20 years or so. And music has always just been so important to me, but this was one of these times when it really hit me how much it was. I was driving, I had just got a new car and it had the Sirius XM in it. And I was just flipping around and I heard Just What I Needed by the Cars, which is one of my all-time favorite songs ever, ever, ever.
Amazing song, yeah.
And I was transfixed and I was like, oh my gosh, it's being piped into my car, like the music I love. The song ended and I hear his voice and I kid you not, God. I started crying. I literally, because it immediately took me back to me sitting in my room with my Walkman on, listening to him. It was so powerful. Anyways, thought I'd share that because you actually know who that person is. So
yeah, exactly. And I would like to add Jed the Fish to that as well.
Oh yeah, Jed.
He was another voice that I love.
Rodney
on the Rock. Yep. On the Sundays playing you all the stuff that you would never be able to hear anywhere. It was so cool. It was a really special time, and to be able to be exposed. And I actually worked at Licorice Pizza when I was a kid, and I would get vinyl on the weekend.
I worked at Music Plus.
There you go. I worked for vinyl. I cleaned up the back. I put all the boxes together. I was 14, 15-year-old kid with Doug Feiger, I might add, who asked me if maybe I would jam with his band because he thought I was a good guitar player. And my mom said, "No way, you're not playing with adults."
Crazy. Hey, I got a couple more questions here for you. I think one of the things that is captivating, and obviously something that not only I think musicians are drawn to you clearly for, but you impart on them as well. You have a very specific, for lack of better terms, mystical sort of sound. I was trying to say, how can I talk about this? And there's a certain element of it, and I can hear it in Queens, I can hear it in Vultures, I can hear it in Cornell, and it's like when you're watching fire, right? If you're looking at a campfire, you're watching fire, and there's you get kind of transfixed by it, and part of it is because it's never the same, but it's always the same, and there's just this really unique quality. It's like, oh wait, where's this color coming from? Or like, whoa, that leapt up really high over there. But it keeps us interested in it, and it's fascinating. There's danger. It's dark. Where do you think that stems from? It's got to be some kind of source, because you're one of the only people that have really kind of brought that to more modern alt and rock music.
That's the kind of the thing that attracts me about music is it's that kind of feeling, this feeling of timelessness, or this feeling of almost like the voice of the silence, or the universal transmission, that's happened since the beginning of time, and like the particular form it embodies can change and be more current or more, But that's what I recognized, like in when I first heard Chris's voice and I first heard Soundgarden, or Paco de Lucia, or Fred Frith, or the Beatles, or this is or Zeppelin. There's just this feeling of it being this like almost imagine like when I listen to Bach, it's almost like it's always playing before time and after time, and you plug into it and you listen to it for a bit, and then you step away from it. I think it's that feeling that all the stuff that I grew up listening to, and especially because I had to move so many times and never really felt. I felt more like a citizen of the world, living in so many different countries, being exposed to so many different kinds of music, like Indian classical, flamenco, rock, and I started to see this connection through all things. The things that attracted me to any kind of music, is that it sounds like somebody's complete, total abandon, losing their sense of ego, being in the moment, just exploding with connection and resonance and empathy. Like it's all one thing, and we're alive now, and it's this kind of feeling, and I think it just kind of rubbed off on everything, and the tension and release of like exploring that, like that feeling of a dramatic arc of a song, and I love it when music sounds like dangerous, and you know what I mean. It has a danger to it.
Yeah.
Like this is serious. They mean this.
Yeah.
Whether it's Nusrat Fateh Khan or gospel music or Blind Willie Johnson or like all the stuff that just sounds. It sounds like the expression of this kind of joyful scream of like existing, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here now. This is crazy. It's scary. It's beautiful. It's all things at once. And it's frustrating when you can't, when your mind doesn't allow you to go back to that, when you're in the moment of the blessing that it is to be making music and to be on stage or recording, and something takes you out of that zone. It's just like it's so hard. I mean, like, I always try to figure out a way to like, but it's you can't always avoid that from happening.
Yeah. It's like
but
coming out
I'm
of a
so
dream
happy.
and trying to get back into it. When you wait, you're like,
Right.
no, wake up, go back,
Yeah,
go back.
exactly. Go back, turn around. It's not safe. It's one of these things that we've all experienced. In any kind of creative, whether music or painting or poetry or even daily life. You're just making a building. And you just see the beauty of the process of creation, and it's really it's one of the few evidence based things that I can hang on to in terms of some kind of a spiritual aspect to the universe. 'Cause I certainly don't completely trust what some people have told me about or written down, but my own experience connecting to that feeling. Like that unity that music can create with other human beings, and what it points at, and the evidence of that. It's like that, and watching a nature show where you see nature at work, and you're like, man, there's something beautiful happening here, and that's enough. I don't need to know the particulars. It doesn't matter to me, As long as ultimately it's cool, then we're all good. I don't need to argue with anyone about it. I don't need to convince anyone about it. I still don't know what it is. I love the mystery of it, and that I think that's, as a self-taught musician, I think that's something that I still appreciate. Like, yes, part of me wants to, like, I would love to be able to play, giant steps or the rhythm changes or but the fact is, in my life I've been led to just be in the moment and try to retain the kind of magical aspect of it, and it's still mysterious to me, what's happening right now. And so yeah, I mean, I love it. It's well, you guys know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Tony's got
Alan,
a question he's dying to ask you.
Jumping at the bit. So earlier you'd mentioned that you have not only many different guitars and things like that, and other instruments, but
Hundreds.
millions and millions.
Hundreds of millions, billions of stars.
But most often we see you playing either a cigar box guitar or your trusty Jazz Master. And I was kind of curious, what is it about those instruments that you gravitate to?
Well, I think with a cigar box, my friend Matty Barato makes them, and I got my first one. It was 4-string. The first time I played it was on Show Me Something on Howling Book 2003. But then he made me an 8-string, and it was the instrument I had with me when I was touring Crooked Vultures, and then Spark came out of the fact that I had this instrument with me. It's very portable. It's tuned in fourths in C. I spent so many hours with JPJ, like John Paul Jones, like, being his rhythm buddy, like, Al, would you just, he didn't say it like that, but he goes like, just.
Oh, come on, give us a good impersonation. You can do it.
No, he's like, well, I was really funny because, anyway, he would just solo on the mandolin and I would just play rhythm for him because he's a genius and
right.
And it's just abstract insanity that I'm even there. I'm doing this, but it's really funny because English people have a way of doing this little put down thing that is cute, but also you can't come back from.
Yeah.
So I'm minding my own business, playing a cigar box on the front of the bus because I can't sleep, and he comes out from the back. From his back bunk to get the special juice that's in the front part of the bus. And he walks past me, he stops and he goes, "Oh, that's silly." Like, I'm like, "What's silly? Like, this is silly?" I'm like, "What do I say? No, it's not silly. That's not a comeback, He's so cute. Anyway, I love it because he would be like, "Al, there's a ancient instrument museum exhibit. Let's go." And on a day off in Boston, it's like when Temple Jones is like, texting you in the morning to go join him, and it's so incredible. Yeah,
that's pretty remarkable.
And then how about your Jazz Master?
The Jazz Master is one of these things that the factory stamp is my actual birthday and year.
Oh, nice.
And so. It's just been with me since the 80s. I got it for $350,
Wow.
I put Seymour Duncans on it, and it's just always been with me. And it's like, it's the kind of instrument that you can tune every 6 weeks, I mean, I'm not kidding. It literally does not budge,
Wow.
And it's become so second nature, like in the Vultures tour in 11, on Cornell's record, Euphoria Morning, and before that, and What Is This, and there's so many times where it almost got lost, and it almost got destroyed, but it doesn't. It just keeps. You don't know how many times it's like fallen over in this most insanely scary racket, like pow, fell off the stage, fell like 10 feet on its side, bounced 3 times. And it doesn't even have a scratch on it. I'm like, oh my God, what's up with this thing?
Excalibur.
Like it has the original bridge, which I've been fine tuning with a little jeweler's file, and it just stays in tune and it just does its thing, and it's alive. I tell you, it's alive. It is. It's just this crazy. I love it.
That's cool.
Fantastic. Well, Alan. I know that we could probably go on for about 3 or 4 more hours, but in the spirit of the show, in the spirit of being mindful of your time, we are going to transition out of this, and who knows, we'd love to have you back some other time.
Absolutely.
I'd love to. Just you let me know, and we can continue chatting. There's so many things we could chat about. Yeah,
I've got a pile of things that I still want to ask you at some point. So we've got a little part of our show here called
Would You Rather?
Oh, that was pretty crappy, Tony.
Well, you know, I'm sick and all.
Would you rather? Okay, nice.
Well, nice harmony there. That's
Yeah.
nice.
All right,
A dissonant harmony.
This one's especially for you,
Yes.
Alan.
Custom crafted.
Custom crafted.
Oh, poo. Okay, yeah.
And there's we're tapping into one of the instruments that we just kind of talked about, and as well as
Another instrument.
the mystic quality that you can bring to the sound, to the audios. All right, Tony, go.
So, did I mention that the El Camino's in the shop?
No,
The transmission blew.
I'm still waiting.
So, you know, we're not going to be able to take the El Camino down.
All right.
So, but this time
We do have your old Subaru Brat, so Alan and I can ride in the back.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I love it.
That would be perfect.
I
Let's
love
go.
it.
So
Stick shift? No.
this time you're on a tour in a tour bus,
Yeah.
and you're driving through the desert in the middle of the night. The tour bus breaks down. Everyone is asleep on the bus, but you can't sleep, and you walk outside of the bus, and you're wandering through the desert.
You're walking down the desert.
You're wandering through the desert. Suddenly there appears a mystic shaman,
Oh.
and
Oh.
he says, hello. He's wearing a hood and everything. He's got very long fingers.
Okay.
You can kind of see
Yes.
this
Yes.
as I'm doing here. Picture, if you will. He says, I noticed you're a musician, and I have two options for you. The first option is a cigar box guitar made from Pandora's box.
What?
Oh,
The
yeah,
real
yeah.
Pandora's
The
box?
real Pandora's box.
Okay.
geez.
The other option is a Jazzmaster style guitar made from wood from the Flying Dutchman.
Whoa. This is so some supernatural stuff going on here.
we are really going out on the
Yes.
mystic spectrum here.
Walking the plank, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. This is a very unique one, I would say.
Yes, it's
okay.
custom.
Yeah.
It's custom crafted.
Yeah.
So, which do you choose
Yes.
and why?
Okay. So first we're gonna check in. We're gonna ask Tony. Tony's gonna walk away from the announcer booth.
Yes.
And we're gonna ask Tony Baloney here. What is his choice?
I
Yes.
am going to choose. I'm afraid of Pandora's box.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip right over that. I'm going to the Flying Dutchman Jazzmaster.
Okay.
So I can have
Ooh, I like the
immortality in Davy Jones' locker.
Okay. All right.
That's my choice.
All right. I can dig it. Alan, how about yourself?
I think I would take Pandora's box because once the cigar box already has the kind of opening in the front, and so I can imagine that I could somehow coax the cigar box to become anything and all things, and not necessarily like that. There would be like all chaos. You could also just the whole point of Pandora's box is that you open it up and then just everything appears. So I would think this a Pandora's cigar box would be
All
amazing.
right.
All right.
Good answer, Todd.
I'm also going with. I don't like the idea of being chained to something for all eternity. So Flying Dutchman can just I'll bypass that one. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go for Pandora's box too because I like the idea of a little bit of I don't know what's gonna happen here.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to pick this up, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to be part of the experience, but I'm not going to be controlling the experience. And I think that could be really, really fun.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm by myself
You are
once
yet
again.
again on an island. Yes.
An island by
Yes.
myself.
With
No, but
the-
then that's cool because then we got it covered. Like between the three of us, we it's all going to happen. Whatever.
We got it good.
It's all going to work out.
All right. Well, thank you to the genius who came up with that one.
Who would that be?
Sorry.
Was that
Yeah.
Jared? Did Jared come up with that one?
He probably did. Anyhow, we Alan, we got to thank a couple of people, and then we're going to exit out. Okay.
Thank you. And
All right.
let's
Here
do
we
it.
go. Let's go, Tony.
Yes, Todd, because at this point of the show, there's a very special group of people that we love to thank. These are our executive producers. Now, you might be wondering what an executive producer is, or more importantly, how you can become one. Quite simple. Go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast. Each level comes with some very, very nice thank you gifts and opportunities to win things, and a handwritten note from Todd himself.
Yeah.
Worth the price of admission any day of the week.
And
But there's one thing more, Todd.
yes, you get have your name read on the
You
thing.
name read on the thing, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers: Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, John Halverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemalero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk. Did I say that right? Gottschalk.
Yeah.
Gottschalk. Yeah. Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, Andrew DeHaan, James Bell, and James Romer.
Yes, recently new James Romer.
James and James.
Well, thank you guys so very much.
but
for
wait,
what you did.
Todd, there's more because there's a special
I
group.
never seem to learn.
You never do. It's like you've never heard this podcast before. 380 some episodes later, however many we have. There's a special group of executive producers. We call them our Grand Poobahs.
Yes,
They wear fezzes upon their head.
they literally do, Alan.
They literally do. They're
We sell
required.
fezzes.
They are required to wear a fez. So special. That's three special.
Yes.
Thanks to these Grand Poobahs: Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wow Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. David Poe, Billy Spitfire, Congregation Gear Demos. But Todd,
Yes,
I am so excited. This week we have two, count them, two
I know.
new
It blew
Grand Poobahs.
It blew my mind.
Two in 1 week.
Whoa.
So welcome aboard, and a tip of the old fez to Paul Van Eppinger
Yes.
and Scott Sullivan.
Hello, dollies.
Thank you, you guys. You're in great company. Let me
Thank
tell
you, thank
that.
you so much. Speaking of
Thank
that
you.
great company, I did want to mention, Alan, David Kamingo says hi. So
I love me, David. I love me some David Kaminga.
who doesn't love David Kaminga? I mean, come on. Okay, we need to just, if we can give everybody a one more shot at finding the things that you do out there, including the documentary, go for it.
Okay, so I think now the documentary is just on a search on YouTube, Unfinished Plan, The Path of Alain Johannes. AlainJohannes.com, Alain Johannes on Instagram, Facebook, Wikipedia. There's stuff out there. You might like some of it. I tried hard to make it awesome. Please join to listen. And that's it. Yeah.
All right. Tony?
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things that I do, which is custom pick guards. Let me know what you need, what you're trying to do. I will make something very special for you.
Yep.
Pickguardian.com.
He just made a special one for my Hagstrom.
And Todd got 5 songs out of it.
It's amazing. You can shoot me an email, Todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can also DM me on Instagram @guitarknobs. Would love to hear from you. I also want to give a huge shout out to Dr. No for hooking us up with Alain. Very, very excited. And he's coming on the show in a couple episodes ahead, everybody. So be looking out for that.
That's great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Check out that.
Indeed. Alain, we have been blessed and honored to have you on our show. This has been such a fantastic time with you, and I appreciate.
Thanks, you guys. I had an amazing time. I am very thankful.
Well, we hope to cross paths with you again. In the meantime, everybody, have a fantastic guitar week. Go check out Alain's stuff and his documentary, and subscribe.
Yes.
Hey Todd, what's up? I get to speak English. I've been speaking only by my Spanish.
So it's not going to be like a Greek or Italian dinner where everyone's interrupting everyone else.
Why not?
I'm not.
Okay.
I need patch cables. Are they good patch cables?
They're well, wait till you hear this ad.
Hey.
Oh boy, that was interesting. You know. Sí, mira que yo me acuerdo muy bien de la rockeando con la guitarra.
Yeah, you're like you listen to a lot of Pixies on the way over, right? Is that what you did?
Exactly.
My pal here, Tony Dudzik.
Hey Tony, what's up?
Nice.
Thank you. All right, we'll chat soon. And
Okay.
then everybody be healthy and happy.
You too.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at guitarknobs. Catch you next time.